Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to touch on media bias, looking at the latest example of a breach of the rules from GB News. Now, it's clear that the current system isn't at all working because GB News are not facing consequences. How do we know? Because they're not changing their behaviour. So what's happened this time, and what do I think would be a proportionate response which would change their behaviour? So the latest slap on the wrist from OfCom is related to the Q&A that Rishi Sunak was allowed to broadcast with GB News. Now, although, yes, you could say he was taking questions from an audience of the public, there were multiple problems with the programme from, my point of view especially. First of all, the audience was handpicked. It was heavily selected for particular political viewpoints. Unlike, say, LBC call-ins or BBC Question Time, for example, where you've got a range of views clearly represented. And how do I know this? Well, first of all, you could actually watch the programme if you want to suffer yourself to do that and identify that not a single person asked the sort of question that a progressive voter would wish to ask. Not one. But also, even before the show went live, I knew it because our friend Graham Hughes got himself selected for the audience. All selected, got his invitation. No problem at all. Then, day of broadcast, suddenly had his invitation rescinded. Why? Well, if you look Graham Hughes up online, it's quite clear he is anti-Brexit, right? So his politics excluded him from the show. Second, Sunak was not restricted in the answers he gave in any way. He was allowed to talk for as long as he liked. You'll notice on other shows that they get a certain amount of time to respond and then that's it. He talked about whatever he wanted. Like if he veered away from the subject of a question from this hand-picked member of the audience, nobody pulled him back on track. Nobody said, hang on a minute, the question was about this. Can you stick to the topic, please, Prime Minister? No, he just allowed to do whatever he wanted. Nobody told him he was taking too long. The only time anyone in the studio really did anything was when they had to come and rescue Rishi Sunak when it looks like he'd riled up someone in the audience who hadn't taken their meds. Adam Bienkov of Byline Times also pointed out that at one point of the proceedings, the host encouraged Rishi Sunak to take a random question from a box. Sunak refused, and he demanded that GB News let him answer his own question. I've got my own question, it's much better than anything in this box of yours. And instead of going, no, Prime Minister, you're here to answer questions from the public, select one at random if you would, they went along with it. They said, oh, fair enough, Prime Minister, yeah, your own question, that's probably way better than ours. Third, after Sunak had finished saying whatever he liked, GB News followed it up with a little section that was supposed to offer objective analysis. This objective analysis was given by James Daly MP, the Deputy Chair of the Conservative Party. The role of Deputy Chair of the Conservative Party, quite literally, is to promote the interests of the Conservative Party, and appointments to that position are made by, shall we check, Rishi Sunak. So the objective analysis of what Rishi Sunak said was given by someone who was given his job by Rishi Sunak. GB News, of course, are putting on a public show of being distraught. Oh, it's so unfair, just like everyone else. Because they're the voice of the people or something. They claim, it was all fine. We gave Keir Starmer the opportunity to do the same thing, so it's fine. So it's not, is it? Because Keir Starmer would also have had a gammon audience ranged against him. And he'd also have had a right-wing commentator offering these supposedly objective analysis later. In fact, it might even have been James Daly again. Wouldn't surprise me. But never mind GB News' crocodile tears, what to do? First of all, I'm a bit of an outlier, I think. I don't want GB News to be shut down. My beef with GB News is not that it exists, but that it doesn't follow a set of suitable rules. And what few rules broadcast media do have to follow, which is more than print media who self-regulate, they're not complying even with those. That's the issue. All I want is for them to follow the rules. The rules need strengthening, but most importantly, they need enforcing. There's no point in creating new rules if you don't enforce them. When it comes to GB News breaching the rules, the regulator OfCom has had one of two responses. The first is to do nothing and then say because they're a small operator, they don't need to be bound by all the rules. They've actually said that. That is clearly unacceptable. OfCom needs to be reformed so that it takes all the rules for all the outlets bound seriously. They need to say, no, you don't get away with it just because you're a small operator. The second option they take is to fine them. But this is a company that's making net losses in the tens of millions of pounds a year. To an organisation willing to blow all that money, a fine is just authorisation to break the rules for a fee. Really what needs to happen before we even consider reviewing whether the rules need tightening up is to make sure that the rules will be enforced. Because a rule that's not enforced is not a rule at all. It's optional guidance. So OfCom does need reforming. They must be given a solemn duty to enforce all the rules without fear or favour or silly excuses about, oh, well, they're not that big a channel. So what about punishments? There needs to be punishments, right? Now, fines are usually an appropriate punishment for things like this. But if a company doesn't care about running along sound business lines, then the fines that are issued don't work. So what to do then? Well, I don't think making the offences criminal is appropriate. I don't think we need to put people in prison, as much as some may disagree. But the punishments do need to be real. They need to be consequential. So there are two ideas I have. First, make fines automatically double for similar breaches with no limits. So at this point, GB News could not afford to keep breaching the rules because even they wouldn't be able to afford the fines. It'd end up getting into the tens of millions, right? Second possibility, enforce a level of professional standards on output of news, current affairs and political content. Have a legal obligation that the host and producers of such a programme need official accreditation. Put it on a level of professionalism. You know, if a programme repeatedly breaches the rules, then the host and or producer that's responsible has their accreditation removed. So then they will not be legally allowed to do that work anywhere in the industry, not just on that channel, anywhere. That way you are threatening the livelihood of the individuals most responsible for the behaviour. And the outlet itself would soon be unable to hire accredited professionals because why would they do that? It just means losing their accreditation. Now, I actually think either of these would work, but I see no reason not to do both. There would be other advantages to making television broadcast media work on a more professional footing anyway. And as I say, this would just need to be news, current affairs, political output. If any amateurs in the media don't like that, the likes of Darren Grimes, they're free to join me on YouTube. This is supposed to be the place for amateurs anyway, not national television. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.